Order in the court.
TV shows, Your Honor, I can explain. I mean, Walter White has Breaking Bad.
What the hell is this guy on about?
Yeah, and so Knuckles obviously has Knuckles the Echidna. I have no idea how that court session derailed. I got down for tax evasion. But apparently, lying in the court of law is frowned upon. Clearly somebody didn't get the message. Knuckles recently came out. Good for him. After 2 years of waiting and speculating, the show has finally hit Paramount Plus. And there are some very mixed opinions about it. You either love it or it hurt your family, but I don't really say either of those camps, and I think that there are some pretty radical opinions on both sides. I think there's a lot more nuance to this topic. I mean, there is a lot to love, but there's also a lot to hate, especially as a fan of the Blue Gumball. So, let's discuss the fact that Knuckles is not a bad show, but... Come on! I won't waste your time, this is a terrible Knuckles show. Not only does he not feel like the main character of his show, but he's just not. Enter Wade Whipple. Man, I love this guy. Once a comic relief side character in the movies, he's now turned into practically the main character in this show, and his whole ordeal is that he wants to become a warrior. So as Knuckles struggles to adapt to his time on Earth, he takes on Wade to train him to become one. Why? To fulfill his ultimate quest. Winning a bowling tournament against his father? Huh? This guy's daddy issues are worse than mine! You could tell me this plot was written by ChatGPT and I'd totally believe it. This is a road trip show at its core. Wade and Knuckles travel from place to place, getting caught in various antics to get to one final destination. So essentially this is Sonic Movie 1. Now that sounds reductive, and it is to a degree, but at least with that movie they succeeded in fleshing out Sonic's backstory and motivations. But in this series, Knuckles is not the character that gets fleshed out, but is rather the vehicle that allows Wade and his backstory to flourish. So in that sense, this series ultimately fails as a Knuckles TV show. Any development this character gets is almost always undermined by a joke, and whilst they can be funny, the jig does get old and annoying. Episode 1 and 2 are entertaining enough in their own right, and it's always nice to see the Wachowski dynamic. Overall, there's a bit of everything here, and I quite enjoyed this section of the series, even as a Sonic fan. But episode 3 is where the series really trickles downwards. We get to meet Wade and his, colourful cast of characters. We have Wanda, whose only character trait is being in the FBI and a dick to Wade. She's probably the most dislikable character this franchise has ever seen. Like, she stabbed him with a fork! And Wade's mother, who, whilst not annoying, did almost nothing memorable, except flirt with Knuckles to contribute to the story. What is wrong with you? Whilst I did find the fight scenes in Wade's home enjoyable, especially whilst they're protecting the Shabbat candle on the table, I only really enjoyed them because of Knuckles' contribution and the cool camera work. But from here, everything goes even more downhill, and you can just tell that Fowler didn't work on these episodes. For the next episode, Knuckles is on screen for a total of 1 minute, and the episode instead focuses on Wade and his becoming of a warrior. But this is the episode that felt incredibly disrespectful to the concept of a Knuckles show. A large portion of this episode is taking place within Wade's mind as he's shown Knuckles' backstory. Through a musical? I'll give the set designers props, this looks fantastic from a visual standpoint, but I just can't get behind this whole concept for a Knuckles TV show. Pachacamac makes another appearance, once again treated as a comic relief character, more than the Echidna tribe leader that he is. And honestly, this just feels like an excuse to get a Christopher Lloyd cameo. And they just casually throw in Iblis for some reason. Well, at least it's alluded to be. Except instead of Iblis actually being there, he's a puppet to match the musical play aesthetic. But the real motive behind this creature's appearance is to be the worst piece of product placement I've ever seen. God help me! But throughout all that, I still think this show has a lot of merit. This is my hot take on this show, but I think Agent Willoughby and Agent Mason are fantastic characters, and honestly, they give me Scratch and Grounder vibes, which is great. The chemistry between Mason and Willoughby is great, and you can tell that Taylor and Muscuddy had a lot of fun within their roles. And I think with a bit more screen time, they could have been seen fondly like Agent Stone has within the movies. Speaking of side characters, the main villain, the buyer. He almost gives me like Dean Bristro Eggman vibes from the adventure games, and I really enjoyed that. But as I've said, my only complaint is that neither of these characters are given enough time to flourish. And although they're being marketed as the main antagonists, they hardly feel that way at all. But if I can detract myself from the Sonic fan within me and just look at this show objectively, the CGI is excellent for like 95% of the show, especially within the action scenes. The colours pop, and honestly, it doesn't look awfully jarring for a CGI live-action hybrid. Speaking of those action scenes, I think they're the highlight. They look and sound fantastically, and they're choreographed quite well, actually. I'm especially a fan of the first fight within the bowling alley. Also, although I wish they took a backseat because I think there are far too many, those comedic moments are pretty great too, and I think a decent chunk of them actually land. Especially the ones that come from Wade, although I do think he takes up an awful amount of the runtime within this series. I do enjoy his presence as a non-Sonic fan. And yes, I was dunking on episode 4. I can still appreciate the work that went into crafting an episode like that, and I still think that there is some enjoyment to be had within the surrealness of it all. There are no doubts in my mind, this is a terrible Knuckles show. But if you take it at face value, I cannot in good conscience call this a bad show. Sure, it spits in the face of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, disregarding any attempt to gracefully pull from its lore, but it's still a well put together piece of media, with a couple of legs to stand on, from beginning to end. But realistically, how could they have fixed the show? Put simply, they needed to focus more on Knuckles and his attempt to escape the clutches of the buyer. The Wade stuff was entertaining, sure, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was a more entertaining Sonic show embedded within this that's more marketable for casual audiences. Also, whilst I'm not expecting lore just to ooze out of this show, I definitely think some extra world building centered around the lore of the franchise could have gone a long way, especially with setting up the future of the movieverse. And so, as a Sonic fan, this show is just frustrating to see because it doesn't progress the movieverse anywhere. But what did you think about this show? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down below, and do you think this is indicative of Sonic 3's quality? If you enjoyed this video, then remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more Sonic content. But you've heard that one on YouTube a million times. Bye for now!